All right, guys. So this is episode 3, the Struggles and Success podcast. And today I'm here with
Stephen Hilgart.
we just talked about, should I call you Steve or Stephen? But Stephen, I'm super excited. We've known each other for a couple years now. And earlier when I came to the office, I told you that I was a little nervous. And I don't know, like we've known each other for a long time, and I shouldn't be nervous. And I'm having fun, but you know, it made me think about an exercise that you showed us at a coaching seminar you did at the brokerage where I work at. And let's just do it right now. Let's knock it out so I can actually get the butterflies away. And then let's do this. Like,
Yeah.
All right. So let's do this. Like, so what's the actually number one before you actually do? What's the point of this? Like,
Well, listen. I mean, the truth is, you create these feelings. They don't just happen to you.
It's
so
true.
right now, the way you're feeling, or if you get butterflies or you get nervous or anything along those lines, it's because you're breathing a certain way, you're moving your body a certain way, you're focused on certain things, you're questioning certain
yes.
things. And all you got to do is change that. And usually when we do exercises like this, we can jump up and down, we can move, we can do all this stuff, but you don't always have access to do that.
Yeah.
So like we can even just do it right here. If you're just sitting up straight.
Down, okay.
But one thing that's really interesting is the first step to anything is changing your physiology, changing your body. So you got to breathe a little bit differently. So if you just take a deep breath in right now, just nice and slow, and you just relax. Even that in that second, you can tell that your body relaxes, right?
I feel better.
But what's interesting is most people, they crush their diaphragm. So they kind of slouch down like this, and that really stops the breathing. So if you sit up a little bit straighter right now and roll your shoulders back, and take another deep breath in. And there's a whole bunch of breathing exercises, but honestly, the one that I like the most is where you breathe in 4 times and you breathe out 4 times.
Okay.
And I don't know if you've tried this one before, but just try it with me. You breathe in, and then you breathe out 4 times. Do it again. And a little more stronger. One more time. And if you feel it, just even that little bit, you start to get a little high. You get a little more oxygen.
I do.
It's similar to the runner's high. Yeah. You're out there running and you've been running for a long time and you get a little woozy, and it's not like a bad feeling. Yeah. It's just you're getting so much oxygen that your brain starts to clear up and you start to feel like, oh, wow, okay, hi, we're here. Do it one more time. Just breathe in. Okay. And now breathe out a little forcefully, even stronger than you just did before. So breathe in again 4 times.
Ooh, I feel good.
Feels a little good, right?
I feel good. I'm ready to go.
So now the second piece here is your focus, like where you're directing your focus. Because right now it's so easy to go internal and be like, oh, what am I going to say? Am I going to screw things up? Am I thinking about this or anything? If you get out of yourself for a second, you focus on having fun, you focus on other persons, if you focus on just whatever else is going on around, you stop thinking about all of those weird questions that kind of tense you up. And
definitely.
Out,
is this? Am I going to mess this up? The reason why I was a little nervous, not anymore, was because you are my first guest, man. And I'm excited. I'm so blessed that you made the time to come here and we're doing this, dude.
Yeah. No, I'm super excited to be here. And it's always, I mean, obviously, like you said, I've known you for a couple of years, and to see your transformation over the last couple of years, especially. Like,
thank you, man.
I mean, it's incredible. So it's fun for me.
I appreciate it. So, all right, let's just get into it. So, our podcast is called the Struggles and Success Podcast. And what we do, our goal is to get entrepreneurs here and talk about themselves and their struggles they go through starting a business and, going at it, being on your own.
Yeah.
So I know you were in martial arts when you were a kid. So let's just, go ahead and just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. I mean, just to give the story, it's always so funny because it's like, the overnight success story, which is never overnight.
No, definitely not.
It's decades of experiences. But yeah, I had a cousin who was a world champion kickboxer, and I wanted to follow in his footsteps. So I joined karate at about 6 years old. I started getting pretty good. By about 16, 17 years old, I'm flying over the country, I'm flying over the world, I'm going to all these tournaments, and at that point, I was doing well enough that I was even fighting in the adult divisions as a teenager.
Oh, wow.
Because I'd beat all the teenagers, and they would let me go up to the next division and fight the adults. And I was still winning. So, life was going pretty good. But what's funny about the martial arts is at this point, there was no UFC.
Yeah.
That wasn't around. It was just getting started, and it was like bare knuckle barroom brawl.
Yeah, I remember that.
It's some typical stuff. So for a martial artist, there was no NFL contract, NBA contract. It's not like you hit this pinnacle of success and now you've been given everything.
Yeah.
There's no Olympics for karate.
Yeah.
There's Olympics for taekwondo, there's Olympics for swimming and everything else. But really, there's only two options. Either open up a karate school and become a teacher or go be a movie star. So
you're pretty good looking, dude. I would watch your movies, dude.
Yeah, so, of course, I had a bunch of friends who were really interested in that too. And I moved down to Chicago where the rest of my team was training. And, it's again, much longer story than I can tell in just a couple of seconds. But I ended up signing some of these contracts like History Channel, Discovery Channel, and ESPN.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
All of this stuff. It all sounds really cool and impressive.
It really does.
Until you find out I was young and dumb. And basically all these contracts said, we're going to use everything and not pay you anything.
Oh, shit.
And it was, the mentality was like, okay, I'm paying my dues.
Yeah.
Like, let me pay my dues. But there was no reason to pay the dues because there was nothing at the end of it.
Yeah.
There was no reason for it. And it's funny. I still have all this stock footage that's out there that I recorded, flipping around and kicking and stuff like that. And I'll have people call me occasionally and be like, Mr. Hilgart, I saw you on TV. And I'm like, shut up, kid. just because I'm not getting paid any, silly. I remember seeing a Gatorade commercial years ago. And I'm like, wait a second. Wasn't that me? It was just silly.
That was those are like random stuff that you would see?
Yeah. I mean, like 0.01 second of a commercial for something. They use like stock footage or something. It was funny to me. Anyways.
That's so cool.
So for me, I moved down to this area and I was going to go be this big movie star. I get down there and I, had these dreams and thoughts and ideas, but things didn't quite work out that well, obviously. And so for me, very quickly, I learned that like I was in a little bit of trouble because I moved to a strange city. I got no family, no friends, no money, no savings, no job prospects, no lineups, like nothing there. And I ended up homeless. Because I'm in the situation where it's like, okay, I got to go be a success and I'm paying my dues. And at the beginning, it was kind of like an adventure, right? I'm sleeping in my car, like I'm sleeping on the floor of a karate school.
It's almost fun in a way.
Yeah. I'm figuring it out.
It's like an adventure,
Yeah. I'm 18 years old. I just graduated high school. I'm like, I'm going to go figure this out. I got to pay my dues. All the Hollywood stories. They all go through struggle. It, right? Yeah. So I'm like, okay. And then as time went on, I mean, I'm starting to get realization that number one, I hate the entertainment industry. I mean, I knew people down there that would slit my throat for a toilet paper commercial, just not nice people, not good people. Yeah. And like, I didn't like it. But for me, it was just this, you and I had talked about this before about the expectations, like your parents and your friends and the expectations I set for myself. Like, I have to be a movie star. Yeah. And I figure out I hate it. And, just all of the industry. So I'm in this situation. 2 years go by. And long story short, like, I'm broke. I'm living on whatever charity I can get. I'm scraping together change to go to the dollar menu. Yeah. I'm sick. I'm broke. I'm depressed. I'm frustrated. So it's February in Chicago. It's 30 below zero about 2 years later. So I'm almost 20 at this point. And I can't sleep in my car that night because it's too cold. Yeah. And I couldn't sleep at the karate school I was sleeping at on the floor because there's classes going on. Yeah. So I'm walking through the Barnes & Noble in Naperville, Illinois. Yeah. And I'm just walking around and I see this little book on the shelf called Awaken the Giant Within by Tony Robbins. And it was $20. And take a wild guess what I had in my pocket that night.
$20.
$20. Too freaking weird, right? Divine intervention, universe talking to me, whatever you want to call it. But that was last my food money.
I was about to say, I was like, dude, that could have been a burger and some fries. Like,
oh, no joke. I was literally, the dollar menu at McDonald's or the dollar menu at Burger King, dollar menu at Wendy's. That's how I was like sustaining myself, And so that was like 20 meals, and for me it was, but at that point I had this kind of weird thought that like everything I've done so far has been wrong. Yeah. So what if I just do the opposite of what I'm thinking? And like the thought was, I'm not going to buy a book. Why would I buy a book? Why would I read? Like, in high school, I never read. I was never a reader. I still don't know how to kill a mockingbird. I don't know if that's like a cookbook or like whatever. So for me, I was like, okay, what if I just do the opposite? I buy this book. I'm, in my car. reading this book, and I think you've read this before too, and when we talked about this before, the first couple of sentences of Awaken the Giant Within is about Tony describing how he's flying his jet helicopter from his castle in Del Mar, California, to his sold-out seminar in Los Angeles.
Oh yeah, I remember. Well, I don't really read. I listen to audiobooks, but I remember listening to the audiobook where he thought like, man, there's a traffic jam. Why are people are going to miss it? Turns out they were there for him. Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah. So the traffic jam, and he's talking about this. And my first thought when I'm reading this is like, I've made a huge mistake. I spent the last of my food money on this book. Like, I wonder if they'll give me a refund. And for this guy, this jerk, to sit there and say that he's rich, being on a helicopter, I got a helicopter, I got a sold out seminar. But I kept reading the next couple of paragraphs. He's talking about, I saw a building and I stopped my helicopter above this building. And that was a building that I worked at as a janitor just 10 years ago.
Wow.
And he made this promise inside the book. He said, listen, if you study these skills of emotional state mastery and psychology and learn the skills of success, you know, everyone always overestimates what they can do in a year. Like, I'm going to be a millionaire this year, and with no prospects, no background, no nothing. I'm going to do it. But he says, everyone overestimates what you can do in a year. They vastly underestimate what you can do in a decade.
Yeah, that's true.
And if you just stick with it for the next decade, if you stick with this, and his promise was, and I always remember, you know, the movies, everyone always shouts out to God, right? Yeah. God save me. And I'm like, Tony Robbins, man. you know? But I made this promise. You know, I'm sitting in the back of my car in the Fox Valley Mall parking lot in Illinois there. And I'm reading this book and I'm just like crying my eyes out. I'm like, okay, if I can just figure this stuff out, I'm going to help as many people figure it out as possible. And again, it wasn't an overnight success.
That's crazy. I'm getting emotions so powerful. Yeah, I'm sorry, man.
Me too. No, I understand it. Because for me, I go back to that moment.
I'm sorry. I just like, I just think of like the shit that I went through. And it's so similar. Like, it doesn't matter like what we do. I'm in the real estate industry, and it like we're all human. We all go through the same shit, dude. So like, it's cool, man. I'm sorry.
No,
it's powerful, dude.
Yeah, it is, and it still drives me to this day, because it was like the promise that I not only made to the universe, to Tony, to myself, to, you know, really, I think it's the promise to yourself. Yeah, that makes the most difference. Yeah, definitely. Right. And so, you know, I'm reading this book, and I wanted to master it. Yeah. So whatever, I didn't eat for 2 weeks because I literally spent the last of my food money, and I just read that book again and again and again, and I was so. You know, it was that hunger, not just like food hunger, but like that spiritual hunger, like I've got to go. Yeah. And so from there, I ended up moving back to Minnesota, where I'm originally from. I opened up a karate school eventually. And like I said, overnight success. You know, it took another 2 years to figure that out. But I between me and a partner of mine, we built one of the largest martial arts schools in the country. Sold that, moved overseas for a while. I lived in China, lived in Latvia. I traveled about 65 countries, started 2 more businesses, kind of sold those. And then, like we've talked about many, many times, about 8-9 years ago now, I had the opportunity to actually go work for Tony Robbins directly. Wow. And I worked my way up in the organization, became the head speaker and trainer, and that's obviously how we met. Yeah. So for the last 8 years, I've been known as the trainer for Tony Robbins, and I've recently kind of left and gone on to start my own thing now. And
so you know, with that being said, how did it feel transitioning from? Because at this point, working for Tony Robbins, like him being uber famous and like celebrities hiring him all the time, it's almost like you have a guaranteed job. Yeah. And the moment that you decided, I'm going to do this on my own, how was that for you? Well, how did that happen?
It's interesting because Tony is kind of, you know, in the sunset of his career, and I'm in the sunrise of mine. You know, there's a very big age difference between us. I'm today, what am I? I'm 36. He's 62. And, you know, so we're just, you know, we've got almost 30 years of difference there. And I'm just getting started in my career. And, you know, it was funny. There's a lot of stories to be able to tell in this, but the last time we were at one of the big seminars, Unleash Power Within, I got to go backstage with some of the other speakers and trainers, and one of my good buddies, his name is Dragon, awesome name.
Dude, obviously. That sounds badass.
Yeah, it's the best name ever.
That's hilarious.
You know, so and Steve, like, come on, it's you know, the adventures of Dragon and Steve. But we're backstage, and Tony looks at us, and he was joking, but there's always like a hint of truth to it. But he's like, "What are you guys still doing here?" Because I've been there for 8 years and Dragon now has been there for 11, going on 12. And we had the longest tenure in the organization. Nobody had lasted longer than us. Nobody had done as much as us. Nobody had gone through that. But he even mentioned, he's like, this was not meant to be a long-term role. You're supposed to go learn these skills and go do them.
Yeah.
And both of us, we just, it was kind of like the time to leave the nest, if you will. So it's, it was kind of like that lifelong dream of like, oh my God, I get to work with Tony. Oh, this is so cool. This is so incredible. But it was time. It was time to move and do my own thing. And like I said, now that he's kind of winding down, I need to wind up. Yeah.
So transition on your own, what have been the struggles like starting a business?
It's always interesting. There's an old saying that's like, you're only a master, outside of your hometown. Like when you grow up and everything, my parents, my brothers, my sister, my family, they all still think I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
Because they saw me grow up. They're like, they saw all the mistakes. They saw all the stupid stuff. They saw no matter how big, get on stage in front of thousands of people, they still think I'm a moron, which, there's probably some truth to that. But at the same time, getting around a bunch of friends over the years, I built, my businesses and all did very well, all in the 7 figures. And I've got a lot of friends who call me for advice consistently. But, the interesting thing is I want to be a consultant to my contemporaries. I want to be the guy that my friends turn to and be like, hey, he's got the answers. Like, let me go call him. Let me figure that out. And kind of the barrier for me has been over the years of like, okay, they're going to ask for coaching advice. Are they going to pay for it? And I'm not cheap anymore.
Yeah, I bet you're not, dude.
I charge some big fees. And it's because everyone I've ever coached, everyone I've ever worked with or consulted with, especially one-on-one, has made money. And that's not like a braggadocious thing. It's like just I'm such a nerd for marketing and for strategic business stuff that I've had this coaching group in the background for several years. Every single person in the group has doubled, tripled, quadrupled their business in the last 3 years. So, and I'm not talking like $10 or $20, which is like, ooh, impressive, right? I'm talking at least up to $1 million, 2 to 4 million, 4 to 6 million. One of the guys I coached originally went from, started a brand new business. He was already massively successful. So I got to give some caveats there. Started a new business with $18 million in the first year. Like awesome, really cool. So I geek out on that stuff. And for me, the challenge has been like, okay, you're going to make this much money, but it's hard to visualize sometimes. Like, I'm going to double my business. Oh, that's not possible. We talked about beliefs.
Oh, limited beliefs. Yeah, man. Yeah. Now for me, it's even as simple as doing this podcast. Like before we even launched the podcast, like one of the insecurities, I didn't even tell my partner that I was afraid. I was like, are people going to watch? My vision is to invite all entrepreneurs and have them share their stories and their struggles and successes. So anybody that's watching this, like our core, I guess the viewers that we're trying to target are entrepreneurs and business owners. Yeah. And I want to just be able to like provide value and show them that, hey, we all go through it. Like, as like you sharing your story right now, like it got to me because I was like, shit, like that reminded me of my own personal struggles in the past. And man, like, and look at you. Dude, like I feel like honestly, I see you and I see this light, this super endless light of positive energy, and it's real. Like one of the things that you said, like you really want to help people, you want to support them, and it's so genuine. And even when I called you, and I remember our conversation, and I said, hey, what's up, man? How are you doing? And then I said, dude, like I was praying on this. I thought about you. I called you. It was hilarious because I started telling you about what I was doing, and then I said, yeah, man, when I get you on board, we're gonna talk about your stories. I want to get some pictures, videos of you like doing martial arts, like some pictures of backstage and all that. And I caught myself, dude, I didn't even ask you if you were gonna be on the show, if you agreed to it. And I said, dude, I'm so sorry. I'm like, I started laughing, and you said the thing that I'm never gonna forget. You said, like, assume the sell.
Yeah.
Like assume it. And then I was like, you know what? That's how it should be, like in like anything. It doesn't matter what it is. Like assume if there's a girl you like, you want to ask her on a date, assume like in your head already, like she said yes already. Like it's just going to be, it was cool, man. I really appreciate that, dude.
It's an interesting concept, right? Because it's like, if it was really your friend, you would call him, hey, jerk, like, let's go. I need this thing. Oh, okay, I'll be there. You know, like that's, you know, it's like, okay, yeah, of course. You know, how you would speak to your family, how you'd speak to your friends, if you really cared about people. And, you know, maybe we need more of that in the world. Of just like, yeah, you're a jerk. I disagree with you, but I'm here for you at all times. You know, so that's really cool.
No, I really appreciate that, man. And, you know, one of the things, before we wrap up, man, like I want to, what's the biggest thing that anybody that is trying to start a business or is an entrepreneur or like is going through a struggle, especially because of the market shift and the economy, everything. It's, you know, we're taking a hit. What would you recommend, or like, what's your best advice so they can overcome those struggles?
You know, I can give some strategy, but the mindset is the number one thing, right? Yeah. Because the biggest thing that we're being inundated with right now is negativity. And well, you might not watch the news all day, every day. I mean, if you watch it, if you look at anything that's going on, we've got some drama going on all over the world right now. When one war seems to be calming down with Russia, there seems to be 3 more that are starting between China and Iran and North Korea. Now, all of a sudden, we got this. We got supply chain issues, climate issues. We've got, you know, economy, inflation. We've got all this stuff. But the funny thing is, with all that, we still live in the greatest time in human history ever. Life expectancy has gone up. Technology is changing so rapidly. It's insane. The opportunity to help people. Extreme poverty is becoming extinct around the world. I mean, extreme poverty, not the poverty we talk about here. Yeah. You know, if you're in the bottom, if you make the least amount of money in the U.S., you were still in the 1% of the world. You know, so it's like, it's obnoxious that we sit there and think, oh my God, it's so bad, it's so bad.
Yeah, we focus on the negatives.
So much. But the truth is there's so many opportunities out there. There's so many ways to help people. And for anyone who's in business right now, I believe it's kind of it's a bit of a spiritual journey. Yeah. Because I truly believe in this idea of conscious capitalism. Capitalism, you have to define capitalism these days because everyone is, I hate capitalism when they're typing on their iPad and they're know, on their iPhone, and going on Twitter, I hate capitalism while they're eating McDonald's. You know, it's like ridiculous, right? But I understand some of the argument against it because we don't live in a capitalist society. We live in a cronyist society, meaning you can literally go to government officials and bribe them so they make laws against your competition. Like that's not capitalism, right? But for me, this idea of conscious capitalism is number one, if you're in business, you actually have to care enough about your customers and your clients to do everything for them. When you're in business, it's not really about you becoming rich. It's about you enriching other people's lives.
Wow.
And for me, that's one of the biggest things. Like, I want to see people succeed. I want to see people hit that next level. I want to see people, you know, grow their business, not only for the financial freedom it creates for their family, for their friends, for their life, for just the happiness that it creates. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, no, I totally agree, dude. Like, I you know, I've been doing real estate for about 9+ years, and I would have a talk with my fiance about this. Like, you know, the business did slow down, but if someone said, "Hey, Ben, like, you have a job guaranteed that you're gonna make $100,000 a year, and but you have to work there 9 to 5, and you're gonna have to schedule your vacations." But if someone said, "Hey, the next 3 years you're gonna have to suffer and only make $50,000 a year," dude, I'll take the 50.
Yeah.
Because I love, like, I understand where you're coming from, because I love spending time with my kids, like my fiance, my family, and like, money is important and it makes the world go round, but like, I feel like that is having control of your life is way more important, dude.
Yeah, and what's interesting for me, my philosophy is I'm not an either or guy.
Yeah.
I want both and more, right? And it's not about a greed thing. It's about what's actually possible in this world. So I've always wanted my life, I want to be an example of endless joy and possibility and humor and fun, but also possibility, like what's actually possible. And for me, money is just a scoreboard. You know, it's just like that high score on Donkey Kong. Yeah. Like, let's see what kind of high score I can get today. Because the truth is, by me earning more, it doesn't take anything away from you.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone's, still in this old school mentality of like dollars as a piece of paper. Yeah. Well, there's only so many of these pieces of paper. Well, yeah, that might have been true years and years ago, but literally to print more money like the government does, they just add a zero on a computer somewhere. It doesn't mean anything anymore.
Yeah, it's true.
So they add a zero and people are like, oh my God, they're taking it away. They're taking my numbers away. No, they're really not. You know, the billionaires who are hoarding zeros. Yeah. No, it's just digital crap.
Yeah.
And the idea, we talked about this previously, the idea of there are no lack of resources, only a lack of resourcefulness.
Dude, right? I love that.
That's really the truth. So in this day and age, becoming an entrepreneur, being strategic is about how do I get resourceful? How do I figure out what's out there already and create more?
Dude, that's like one of the biggest lessons, because the last time we talked, it was, dude, I can't remember, 7 months ago, maybe, at Michelle's
something
office.
like that.
Yeah,
I don't know what happened yesterday.
Yeah, exactly, right? So, I remember that was one of the things that stuck to me. Like when you made that comment, it's like, it's about, it's not the lack of resources, it's about being resourceful.
Right.
And even with this whole podcast thing, this is like literally my third attempt into starting it. So the first time it just, it took me weeks to edit a video because I didn't have the skills. And then the second time things didn't work out. And I just blamed it on other things instead of like, hey, you know what? Like, I'm just going to outsource it. Have somebody that has the time and the talent to do it better. They're probably more efficient than I am. And it's so true.
Yeah.
So, man, I really appreciate you coming as my first guest. Thank you for that. Yeah. And so for the people that are watching and they're interested in your services, like what's your, we call it the call of action. What's your call of action? How could they reach you?
Yeah, the easiest way right now, and this is my entire priority, my entire everything, my coaching program is called The Path. Mm-hmm. The Path of the Entrepreneur, the path of there's a whole story behind that, but it's pathmembership.com. If you ever wanted to come learn about strategy and business and psychology and all this stuff to be able to get you. And again, my promise is always like, look, I'll double your business or I'll give you your freaking money back. That's what it is. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, it's to me, it's a math problem. It's really easy. As long as someone has the dedication, has the drive, they'll figure it out. It's really not that difficult. But the mindset. And
also what's your Instagram? Because I love watching your content. You put out amazing content. If you can't afford him, follow him on Instagram and YouTube. So your Instagram,
Steve Hilgart or Stephen Hilgart, depending on which platform. But I'm pretty easy to find these
Sweet.
days.
Yeah. All right, man. So, all right, guys. So if you guys want to follow me, it's Ben the Realtor. I'm on Instagram. And this is it. Episode 3, man.
Woohoo.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.